There you go. Live it is. Nikki.
What is Shadow doing? Did you put food inside of the house?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Treats everywhere.
Let me make it.
Just keep the cats happy.
I can read it. Here we go. Hello, peoples.
Howdy, everybody.
Oh, my phone told me that
We got some new
live.
Coyotes decals. They're a little bigger than I thought they were going to be. So I'm going to have fun with these ones. You have to watch them when they're this old because the glue can sometimes fuse with the behind. So you have to kind of watch that when you're putting it all together. But
a lot of times we have to add either rubber cement to it or I laminate them. Especially those shiny ones. I usually laminate the shiny ones just because the paint comes off. Hello, hello.
Howdy.
How do you explain to the bank financial advisors what your job is? Well, first off,
the bank doesn't care.
I'm the financial advisor. You just tell them YouTube.
Bank doesn't care. Bank just sees money coming in, going up. They don't care who I work for.
Maybe they mean like when we file our taxes. There is actually a code on our taxes.
Yeah.
That we can.
Yeah.
Well, that we do put. So we have a code.
Yep.
Yeah.
Washington upgrading their goaltending. I like Kemper. I think Kemper had a very good year with Colorado, and if he can play like that for Washington, it'll help. Of course, Toronto's betting on Samsonov having a big bounce back. Same with New Jersey and Vanacek.
How can you wear a jersey? Isn't it hot in Abbotsford? Not in our house. It is 28 out. It's toasty outside. So, it's 28 out today.
Next week it's supposed to be 35. So yeah,
which is stupid hot. Anything 30 is
I don't
ridiculous.
really feel hot until it's over 30.
Shannon's always hot.
So
yeah. It is toasty though.
Is cereal a soup? Yes. Absolutely. Do I listen to I'm guessing that's
supposed to be Hailstorm?
I do listen to Hailstorm. We've seen them live.
Fantastic.
They're excellent live.
And Canto. I'm not familiar
me neither.
That name.
Stanley Cup Finals this season. You know what? We're still early in the off season. I don't want to say anything until we see the final rosters for everybody. Colorado will have a chance to repeat. Tampa Bay is not done yet either.
Oh, there is Hailstorm, pirate metal band.
Oh,
I can't say as I've ever listened to any pirate metal.
No.
That sounds interesting.
Closest you get is Metallica. If Hetfield added "yar" at the end of each sentence instead of "huh," you'd have pirate music.
Yeah.
So it'd be pretty easy to rig that up.
Can you see the Canucks roll 3 offensive lines with PD, Miller, Horvat, Lazar down the middle with our extra top 6 wingers?
I don't think Lazar's going to end up on the third line. I think he's going to end up on the fourth. And I really think, if Pettersson somehow could be transitioned to the center long term, I think that's for the best. The Canucks have some good depth down the middle, though. I am still hopeful that Miller sticks around. His agent said today there is a path forward for him to re-sign in Vancouver. So he likes Vancouver. Everything points to him wanting to stay. It's just him and the team not able to come to an agreement yet.
Recently discovered cost per point section of Cap Friendly. It'd be cool if you made a video comparing cost per point among various players.
I did do videos at one point on who was the most expensive in cost per point and the cheapest in cost per point. And I had to, of course, I didn't count entry-level contracts because that's kind of a cheat. But yeah, I've done that before. I can absolutely do that again.
Does Nashville have a shot at getting to the second round? They love your TikToks.
Yes, I would say that Nashville has a chance at getting to the second round. Keeping Forsberg was important. I think getting another backup for Saros was important too. There's a lot of good pieces there, and with the defense and the style of hockey they play, they absolutely can at least get to the second round.
Any new Eddie Livingstone facts from your reading?
Not yet. If and when there's some kind of an Eddie Livingstone centered book that comes out, I'll be all over that.
A lot of people wanting to know if their teams are going to make the playoffs. I see several people, teams.
It's way too early to make that call. It's only July 20th. We still have some pretty big names on the free agent market. So there's still some holes in rosters, free agents, and then you've got a bunch of teams over the cap. So cap issues are going to cause teams to have to make moves as well.
If Kachuk leaves, will Lindholm want out?
Possibly. It really is a matter of what they get back for Kachuk. So if they get back good value and they get back good players, Lindholm may have new line mates that are pretty excellent as well. It really is a matter of how the Kachuk trade goes down. Formenton, Comtois, and Batherson haven't issued any statements on the 2018 Hockey Canada incident have implicated should we see indefinite suspensions. It's a tough one because it's not it's an NHL issue, but it's not at the same time. And there's a defense that's coming as well that people may not like a whole lot. Every single player is going to deny. That's just kind of how that's going to work. I don't think there's a player who's going to go, oh yeah, I was involved. So we're really at a point now where there are fewer players who've denied involvement than were actually reportedly involved in the incident. So there's still a lot to go with that. And then the NHL is left with a really uncomfortable situation going forward.
Could you do a career video on the true journeyman in the NHL? Future considerations has been around the league for so long. Plus, the nice thing is keeping track of his points total should be a snap.
The tricky part is there is one website that tracks all the trades, but they're not 100% accurate on every single trade. So finding 4 future considerations and that has to be the name on it, that isn't the name, that gets a little bit tougher. But yeah, I do want to do a video on future considerations.
Do you think Florida will regress in the regular season results next season? I don't see them having another 122-point season.
They'll probably fall back in the regular season, and with the focus being on the postseason. They were absolutely rolling the whole regular season. They weren't playing playoff hockey, and then once you get into the playoffs, they had trouble. So look for them to play more of a playoff style. And that might have been why Burnett ended up being out. But yeah, I expect more of a playoff style from Florida from the start, which may mean fewer wins during the regular season.
Will you be Gary for Halloween?
I haven't decided on Halloween yet. Yeah, I'll figure that out when we're closer to it. I haven't really decided. I don't know that I could be a convincing Gary Bettman for Halloween.
Shannon sent videos before on why he cheers for Boston, Vancouver. That's the
Vancouver's
local
right
team,
down the road. Boston had Cam Neely and Eddie Mogan. Dallas dates back to when they were the Minnesota North Stars in 1981, and I loved their Stanley Cup final run and followed them ever since.
How does the war? Goodness, already. It's early in the stream for this guy.
War of 1812 lead to Goudreau signing in Calgary and Goudreau leaving. See, the War of 1812, basically because there was the American-Canadian border conflict, there will always be that American-Canadian border crossing issue. And really what it comes down to is there was a really intense game of Red Rover. And in the midst of all that, Goudreau's distant ancestors were a part of that, and they lost.
Shannon.
He ended up in this. So he's very upset about the Red Rover game, dated back in 1812, and it definitely played a role in him leaving Calgary. That was his final demand, was an apology for the Red Rover game, and they said no. That was their line in the sand.
Dork.
Michael Pekka career video. I would go for a Mike Pekka career video. I'm surprised I haven't done one yet, actually.
Are there any teams you think didn't improve as much as fans think? Also, hi Yvonne, you're underrated. Am I underrated?
I don't know that there's I mean, Ottawa, I still don't have them as necessarily a shoe-in for the playoffs, but they're going to be in the hunt. So I think if people expect just this really strong season from Ottawa, it might be a bit of a tough adjustment when you've got so many new players playing together and new lines adjusting to each other. It may scale back expectations and then look for it to snap the other way where people are overly critical of Ottawa.
Your thoughts if the Canucks make cap space for Klingberg?
It would depend on term for Klingberg. If he still wants a max term contract, I would honestly say no to that. Klingberg, I didn't think had a very strong season in Dallas overall. And so I'd be nervous of a long-term contract for Klingberg.
Would Danny
Briere.
Okay, I knew that wasn't right. Be a good GM for the Flyers and or thoughts on the Flyers' future.
Briere at some point in time would make an excellent GM, and I think it would work in Philly. I'm not on the Fire Fletcher bandwagon at this point, but I would not be surprised if Philly gets off to a slow start. He may end up in trouble.
Met Kachuk leaving. Vegas making the cup final year one set unreasonable expectations. They'll keep making splash moves and it won't work out. Seattle wins the cup first. Oh, they'd have a meltdown.
Seattle's not anywhere near a cup either, though. So it may take a while for either of them. But yeah, Vegas is definitely always chasing the shiny object.
Do you think Yzerman could trade for Kachuk and see Zadina in the trade and a couple of draft picks for Kachuk or a couple of prospects?
If Calgary trades Kachuk, they're going to want somebody back of if they can't get equal stature, they want similar. So I would be very surprised if it ends up being a futures package or Zadina and a futures package. I don't think that gets it done. I think they want somebody back. Like the rumor being, if it was St. Louis, they would probably insist on Jordan Kyrou. That makes a lot of sense. Kachuk is an elite level forward, and Calgary can't afford to go into a rebuild.
Do you think Matthew Kachuk to Ottawa is possible, or is he not interested in going to the Canadian market at all?
The reports all seem to indicate he wants to be in St. Louis, and I don't think that he necessarily would want to go to Ottawa. Plus, for the Ottawa Senators, as much as they'd love to have the Kachuk brothers together, that's a very expensive proposition, and then they'd have to gut some of what they've done over the last 3 years. That would gut that core they've just put together. There's a lot of risk in that. I don't think they'd want to do it.
Oh, hi, Uncle Hawk and Auntie Nona. You're watching. My mom says you're supposed to say hi.
Howdy. Hi.
Who collapses first? Pittsburgh, Washington, or Boston?
Boston. Boston's got major injuries to start the season. I think they're going to have trouble.
Think New Jersey can be a wild card team?
The New Jersey Devils are going to be better this coming season. I think they're going to be in the mix. I think one of New Jersey, Columbus, Ottawa, Buffalo, Detroit, one of those five is going to end up being a big surprise. We could see a couple of them jump into playoff spots ahead of, I would say, Washington, Boston, Pittsburgh are all potentially on the verge of falling out of the playoffs.
Does LA have a shot at winning the Pacific next season, making a run next season?
I think so. Calgary's been weakened with the loss of Gaudreau, so that probably takes them out of first. Edmonton would be the next likely successor, but there's still some doubts with Edmonton on some level too. The Kings are going to be there.
Shannon might be a zombie. That's possible. Yes.
Why am I a zombie?
For
what reason?
Though.
Okay.
Tell me there's hope for the Bruins, or are we in for a long period of suck?
I mean, there's hope, but they have a shallow prospect pool. They're going to have to start signing NCAA free agents and getting creative for the future. It could be a dark time for the Bruins coming up. Absolutely.
Seattle is the tortoise. Vegas is the rabbit. Slow build up wins first, in my opinion.
I do somewhat agree with that. I know when Tampa and Ottawa came into the league that Tampa went with veterans, Ottawa went with youth. Ottawa was terrible, but Ottawa got better first. Obviously, Tampa won the cup first, but Ottawa did get better first, even though Tampa was the more competitive team out of the gate.
Why are people fussing about Johnny Hockey not playing for Calgary? Like it's something new. Am I the only one old enough to remember Eric Lindros telling Quebec, "Don't draft me"?
You know, and it's interesting because Johnny Gaudreau, I really think took a long time to think about it. I think he was going back and forth on whether or not he wanted to stay in Calgary. I don't think it was an interesting, or I don't think it was I don't think it was an easy decision for him. There's the word I was looking for. I think that he released the letter to the fans today, which I think was nice of him, and there was a lot of explanation in there too, and I think it's at least a good faith move on his part. I think it's getting blown out of proportion a little bit because now Kachuk's following right after. So there's this panic that's taking over with other Canadian franchises, but I think it'll be fine. Josh Norris just signed an 8-year extension. Brady Tkachuk signed a 7-year or 8-year extension with Ottawa. These guys are in for the long haul and they're both American-born players.
Do you think Blue Jackets could make a splash with Tkachuk?
It'd be very expensive. It'd be very expensive. And I think they'd be looking at some big names having to go back the other way, and I'm not sure Columbus would want to pay that price. And yeah, the Bettman portrait is photographed. Is autographed. I don't know if it's autographed. It doesn't matter. It was $2.50 on eBay.
Okay. British games when
Lindros
What?
trade was a big mistake for Philly. It was. They paid a really heavy price for Eric Lindros. It ended up being a Stanley Cup win for Colorado not too long after that. But I mean, at the time there was so much hype around Lindros, and they just wanted him, so they paid that huge price.
Does Ovi retire?
If they drop her, he gets the goal record.
Okay.
I do think that once he's got Gretzky's record, I think some of his motivation may go as a player. However, I think he plans to play for a long time.
Thoughts on the Panthers on how they will finish in the Atlantic and their latest pickup. Thanks for all your hard work. Best channel on YouTube.
I like what Florida's done in terms of picking up depth guys and picking up value players. They're doing it still this summer. I think Tierney, there's no risk with Tierney. If he ends up in the minors, it's no big deal. If he hits as a number 4 center for them, then bonus. I do like what Florida's done. I expect them to maybe not be as dominant as they were this past season because you saw how the playoffs turned out. They want to win a Stanley Cup, so I would expect them to scale back a bit in the regular season.
Why are the Eyes still not top FA destination? Brand new arena and facility, 30 minutes from New York. Plenty of nice places to live around the arena.
It might be Lou. Lou might have looked at the price for these free agents and said, "I'm not paying that." And Lou Lamoriello's an old school GM, may not think that going the free agent route is going to fix everything. So that may very well be part of it. He just doesn't want to spend a whole bunch of money, end up right up against the cap, and then have to get rid of somebody else.
Thanks for the Boston pep talk. You guys should come to Alaska someday.
We've talked about that.
Oh, I missed some super chats. Okay, hold on. I will see if I can find them.
Yeah, you got that.
Yeah.
And that.
Okay, hold on. Give me a second.
You got that.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Do you see Quebec hosting games in the future?
Yes.
Which? Sorry.
I don't know how many, but I think Quebec will get to host some games.
Which team do you think has the better season out of the teams you root for? Dallas, Vancouver, or Boston?
Probably Dallas, if they can keep Robertson and Ottinger for not too much of a cap hit, and they can fill out the rest of the roster. And then I do like Vancouver's chances. I think they get into a wild card spot this year. I hope that happens.
Disneyland or Vegas, which is best? Because I want to go to Disneyland. Well, overall,
Disneyland's more of the fun variety, but Vegas is beautiful. It's
they're both. So if we don't drink, we don't gamble, and we only kind of do rides. So in that way, they're both kind of similar because they're cool to walk around and look at stuff and lots of fun shops. So that's why they both work as holiday places for us. Oh, thank you. I like my dress too. Summer dresses are great.
Washington signed Gabriel Carlson. I do like him as a number 6 or a number 7 defenseman. I was kind of surprised he wasn't qualified by Columbus, to be honest.
Wait, I think I got all the super chats, didn't I? Okay. Recent Islander videos, I must ask, Garth Snow, underrated GM or idiot GM?
Depends on the era. At the beginning, he was clearly learning what he was doing. I thought he made some good moves in around the middle of his time there. And then beyond that, he made some questionable decisions his last couple years on the job. But I do think he was given a rougher ride than he probably should have that last couple years.
Just want to say that I truly appreciate you and everything you have done on this channel. You're one of the main reasons Hawk's a big part of my life today. Keep up the positivity. Go Oilers.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Will Montreal finish bottom again this season?
I think they'll be 8th in their division. I don't think they'll be last in the NHL. Teams are very rarely last in the NHL in back-to-back years.
If you visit Dallas, my season tickets are yours.
Dallas is on the list of places we want to visit.
It is definitely up there with places we want to go.
Yep.
After a recent Islanders video, I did, didn't I? Okay, yep. Did I get them all now? Nope, I didn't. Why play a forward less than 10 minutes per game and a defenseman less than 13 minutes per game? No player can make an impact playing less minutes.
If you see a player playing those few minutes, they're a role player. There's a very specific role the coach has for them. Probably don't kill penalties or play on the power play either. I do have questions with that too, but coaches do deploy players differently. Some coaches swear by 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. So in 11-7 situation, you're definitely going to have somebody with fewer minutes.
Do the Devils have the best defense of the next 3 to 5 years?
They'll be one of the better defense cores if everything comes together. I really like Nemitz. I think that was a good pick for them. If he's ready to go, they're going to be quite good on the blue line. I do like the Marino pickup too.
Could Toronto put a good trade package in for Tkachuk?
Who could put in a package for
Toronto?
No, I don't think I can't see him being in Toronto. I think that you'd have to move a core player out of Toronto for Tkachuk, and I don't think they'd want to do that.
Sorry, I said Joel Otto had 2 good years in Philly. He should have retired a Flame. Please forgive me.
It's just there's obviously differences of opinion. It's all fine.
Does Montreal win the lottery again and upset fans?
Oh man, if they won the lottery next year with Bedard, that'd be huge. I mean, they'll be in the running, right?
If you were severed, as in the show Severance, would you be very confused with all the jerseys and whiteboards after you finished a video?
I wouldn't.
If you were severed, like in Severed, you'd be confused about
everything. Every time I leave, I would think the Severed would kick in every time I left the room. So I wouldn't know anything that goes on in here at all. This room would be where the severance takes place, where I would remember nothing as soon as I came in the door. So I would be confused by a lot of things. Probably about why
that wouldn't work very well, because not part of how the channel works is because of your ridiculous memory.
Yeah.
With Dallas' current roster, do you think DeBoer can get enough sustainable scoring from the team?
They need a bounce back from Sagan. Sagan has to bounce back. They cannot afford to have another down year from Sagan. I don't know how much Ben can bounce back too, but they need more out of their veterans. But I like the pickup of Mason Marchment. I think their scoring is going to be good next year, and Radulov's off the books, and I think that'll help them too.
Does Chicago become the new Buffalo with a forever rebuild?
It's going to be a while with Chicago. They tore everything down, so it's going to take a while.
If my Pens wanted Tkachuk, would they have anything to package up for him that the Flames would like?
Oh, it'd have to be a young star player, and then it's a matter of Pittsburgh fitting him under the cap. And I don't think there's a way for Pittsburgh to put a package together that wouldn't cripple the team, that would actually fit under the cap to get Tkachuk.
Do you think it's time for Calgary to blow up the entire core?
No, I think if the Tkachuk trade is done properly, and he hasn't been traded yet, but I think if Brad Treliving does the Tkachuk trade right, I think they should be fine, because then you're getting players back. This should be a hockey trade. It's driven by a contract, but it should be a hockey deal where he's getting players back that can play for Calgary right now, and they should be core guys.
Do you think Dumba is a good player? Should the Wild look to trade or keep him?
I think there's times Dumba's overrated. I think there's times he's overly criticized as well. I do think that Minnesota probably wants to deal him because of the cap situation they're in. Maybe they want too much, but I like him as a player.
I'm so sad. What's the return for Tkachuk going to be? This is the Tkachuk live stream.
It should be. I would say at least a good top 6 forward, probably a first round draft pick, probably a top notch prospect as well. It's not going to be cheap. It is going to be a big return. Tkachuk just had a monster year. He's only 24 years of age. He's just coming into his prime, and he had 104 points. It should be a very good return for Calgary.
What are your opinions of Boston Pizza and the Keg?
I like the Keg. Boston Pizza is very good too. Boston Pizza.
They have cauliflower pizza. That's actually good. So I like Boston Pizza because they have cauliflower pizza.
Yeah, they could be quite good.
That's something that I can eat. Woo! So, okay, yeah, lots of it's Tkachuk live stream. All the questions. Dallas was on Kachuk's trade list, even though I hated him during the playoff series. Is there even a realistic package they could put together?
I think that if Dallas was calling about Kachuk, I think the first thing Tree Living would say is, all right, so how about Jason Robertson? And I wouldn't do it, but I would think Jason Robertson would be on the list of demands. There aren't that many really strong goal scoring players. You're going to have Hintz would be one that they would request. And to me, the answer would probably be no. I don't know how you'd make a trade work with Dallas.
I won the free agency prediction, so I get a signed Canucks jersey. Who should I get? That's fun.
Signed
Good
Canucks
job.
jersey.
That's awesome.
I think Horvat's the one that's going to stick around the longest. But I'd lean towards a Quinn Hughes too. If you're looking at one that's going to appreciate in value year after year, it's going to end up being Hughes.
What's your dream trade for JT Miller?
If they did trade JT Miller, I would prefer that they bring in somebody who can help immediately, somebody down the middle, and make it a hockey deal where they're not just selling Miller and they're not getting enough back.
What are the best teams to bandwagon in 22-23 for a disgruntled fan base? Flyers, in my case.
Ottawa could end up being quite the wagon. I think the Islanders are going to bounce back. And Anaheim should be fun to watch. One way or the other, Anaheim should be a lot of fun to watch this year, whether they do or don't make the playoffs. They had a good first half last season, which is easily forgotten with them falling off in the second half. I think they could surprise people.
Deal or no deal, I get the Cats. You get a signed picture and personal letter from Gary Bettman talking about the War of 1812.
No. Kitties are staying here.
I don't think the Cats would be a fan of, well, anybody else.
They don't like moving.
They don't like other people.
No.
So people come to our house and they don't ever see Shadow or Bear.
Bear's my
They
cat.
hide. Nobody will see them. You will not see those two. Pixel will greet you at the door. Same with Azrael and Maple. You can pet them all you want. Bear and Shadow,
really
you
my
won't see
cat.
them.
Shadow's really my cat. If I go, as soon as I'm done in
They
here
put up
and I go
with
lay
me.
down to watch TV, Bear's sleeping on my chest, Shadow sleeping on my legs. I can't see anything.
And I have plenty of room.
So, and now I woke up this morning and I had both kittens on my side of the bed. So we're going to have a problem if
I
the
have
kittens are deciding
all
my side of the
this
bed.
space.
I got 4 cats.
Donation for Yvonne Needs Raise Fund. Hi, Shanny.
Hello, Dave.
That's funny. Okay. Could you do a GM career video on Brian Burke and or career this far of John Taves?
We do something like that. Yes, Vegas is wearing the primary gold at home this year. The gray ones are being retired to a third jersey.
The scratchy jerseys. They're so pretty, but they're so scratchy.
If Yzerman trades for Kachuk, what's going the other way? Well, they've got Lindholm as their number 1 center, so I would think Raymond would be absolutely requested. Make a lot of sense. And then you'd have to have some money going the other way too, because Kachuk's going to be expensive, very expensive.
What would be the number 1 undo button Vegas would push? Does Vegas become Dadnov's only no trade list from here?
If they could undo a move that they've done, I think they probably would prefer to have handled the Fleury situation better than they did right from the beginning. Yeah, I would say the Fleury situation would be the big one.
The Cats like to make sure people have an appropriate show. So they know when they're on camera.
The kittens do that too.
They like to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, the kittens are like that too.
Here's one for the Kachuk speculations. Reunite him with Goudreau. Is there a package Blue Jackets could put together? Also, I started getting a ton of film/TV criticism vids on my homepage after watching some TEG. So thanks.
Apologies for that. There are a couple of reviews I need to do. I finally watched, it's only 20 years old, I finally watched House of a Thousand Corpses. And I was surprised. I was actually entertained by some of the concepts of the movie. I feel like there were some good ideas there, and just the follow through. It was obviously Rob Zombie's early on, foray into horror movies.
Let's go, Avs.
I got today.
So I guess my chat's just never seen. I see your chat.
Okay, we see the chat.
There's a lot. I can't read all of them.
No.
There's a lot on here. I try, but
I got an Avalanche hockey puck for their Stanley Cup win. I also got that Stanley Cup champion.
I was
banner
wondering
there.
why you had one banner on that
And
wall.
then
He hasn't finished this wall yet.
got-
There's one.
I got an
One
auto
banner.
emblem too of the Colorado Avalanche that says 2022 Stanley Cup champs. So I'm all set.
Trade Kopitar for Gretzky's LA
Jofa.
helmet. Agree.
Well, since that helmet doesn't really belong to anybody, you might as well trade him to the Thrashers.
Will you ever make a video on Doug Wilson?
I made a video on Doug Wilson last year. Pretty sure at least a player video. I haven't done a GM video on him.
The Canes posted take warning backwards on Twitter this morning, making me think a reverse retro announcement was going to happen. I was wrong. I don't think they're...
The reverse retros should be out next month.
Yeah, I don't think they're
Next month is when we should hear about the reverse retros, because I think they're supposed to be available at the retail level in September. So.
Okay. What will the Blues have to give up for Tkachuk? I'm hearing Kyrou and Jake Neighbors. It's a very pretty dress you have on there, Yvonne. Thank you.
Kyrou makes sense. Neighbors would make some sense as well. But you have to throw money in there. So if Tarasenko still wants to get traded, and if he was willing to go to Calgary, that would even up the money nicely for St. Louis, and then take that out of their hands. And then I guess Tarasenko would have a year in Calgary and either go to the market or work out with some kind of an extension with them. That might work. I don't know that would be enough for Calgary. Calgary really needs to hit this out of the park when it comes to the trade.
Wait, THG and TEG are the same guy?
Sometimes. It depends. He is using my set a lot, which I find upsetting.
Okay, but as an old school fan, imagine a Stars team with both Marchment and Tkachuk.
Yes. Yeah, that would honestly, if Dallas was able to pick up Matthew Tkachuk, I would be very happy. I don't know that it can work.
Did you ever play?
My parents didn't have the financial wherewithal for organized hockey. So that was my biggest stumbling block. Was as interested as I was in hockey, I could go out there and skate. My family just did not have the money for everything required. It is very expensive, and we just didn't. We had
and there weren't as many organizations that help people afford all of the equipment, and now there's a lot more.
And then I wouldn't have had a reliable
people.
ride. I wouldn't have had it would have been a nightmare. So I just, for me, it was street hockey and floor hockey.
Any chance of an Entertainment Guy live stream anytime soon?
Yes.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, we were just talking about that just before this one went live.
Can you do a video of what a Tkachuk trade would look like to every team?
That would get ridiculous with Arizona. That would be very, very difficult with Arizona or Buffalo. Yeah. I still say it's going to be a roster player who's a top 6 forward, maybe a really top-notch prospect, maybe 2 top 6 forwards and a draft pick. Calgary really needs to make sure they hit this one. They get one chance to trade Matthew Tkachuk, and then it's done. He has really high value. They have to get back full value.
Do you see the East being more competitive?
The East is going to be far more competitive this year. We won't see 8 teams that are ahead in after 2 weeks of the season and go, well, there's our final 8. It's not going to happen this year, not like last season.
How did Pixel accept Shannon finally?
It took some time, but she understood that I didn't let the kids pick on her.
Yeah, that was probably it.
What turned it around was that the kids would pick her up when she didn't like it. So I started telling them off, and she learned that if she made a squeaking noise, it didn't matter where I was in the house. I'd say, put the cat down. So now she does the squeaking noise, even if I pick her up.
It's so funny.
Which is like, okay.
Like it's a squeak, like she's suffocating and can't breathe.
Yeah, and she even
she does not like being picked up.
So yeah, it's really.
But she loves jumping on laps.
Yeah.
What do you think Larkin will get paid?
Larkin's going to be expensive. Remember, the salary cap's going up next year, and then it's supposed to really jump after that. Larkin is going to make some serious coin in Detroit.
Can we please see Patty Kane and Buffalo on a line with Alex Tuck? Would be electric.
I'm not sure that Buffalo is going to be in a position anytime soon where Patrick Kane would go there. But Patrick Kane, once he becomes available from Chicago, everybody's going to be calling. So Buffalo definitely would at least make a cursory phone call.
You have a public PO box. I can send more swigs. We have an American one and a Canadian one.
They're in the description to this live stream and in all the videos.
Though the American one, I do not cross the border very often. It has been months.
Yeah.
So if you send something to the American address, and I know there is stuff down there because the person that picks it up for me does send me a photo each time we get something there. We get it, but it takes a while because I do not cross the border frequently. It's a bit of an ordeal.
I have a rail yard dogs jersey waiting for me, so I'm excited about the rail yard dogs jersey because I've wanted one for a long time.
How much has your opinion of Pierre Dorion changed in the last year?
Dorian's done a good job, and honestly, he did a good job dating back to the Erik Karlsson trade. The trades when they traded out Stone, Karlsson, and others, not easy to do. He did well, and he's done a good job. What's impressed me is he brings in DeBrincat. He re-signs Norris for 8 full years. DeBrincat looks excited to be a Senator. The fact that excitement's back, Dorian deserves a lot of credit for that.
Does
Studnicka
finally make the big club this year? Also, does Beecher ever become a top 6 center? A lot of Bees fans are harsh on Sweeney. What are your thoughts on his drafting and development?
My problem with Sweeney is he's trading away too many first-round draft picks. And he's doing it for a team that is not a Stanley Cup contender. Playoff contender? Sure. Are they an actual Stanley Cup, like top 4? No. And they haven't been for a while. So I want him to stop trading away futures for the present. I hope Beecher becomes a top 6 forward in the NHL. They do have the shallowest pool, though, in the league when it comes to prospects. I've seen that from various sources, and I can't dispute that.
Thoughts on the Sharks this year?
The Sharks could be better. I still don't see them in the playoffs.
Which team do you think makes the most sense to get Tkachuk aside from St. Louis?
If it's not St. Louis, I think Detroit will be in the mix. I mean, it has to be an American team. I've seen people say, well, what about Arizona? They don't have anything, I don't think, to offer that would make sense for the Flames. If he's willing to play in the East, I would think the Rangers would be in on it. I would think that we would see some heavy bidding from them and maybe from the Devils. The Devils were in on Gaudreau. If they could go out and get Tkachuk, that's a pretty good consolation prize right there.
Yvonne might not be an awesome hockey player. Not. But she won awards for swimming in competition. That's true. I was a very good swimmer.
She's a terrible hockey player.
I could skate, but not very well. And I have never been able to run.
She runs like Barry on the Goldbergs.
I can't run.
It's like Barry on the Goldbergs, with the arms straight out.
I can't run.
Yeah.
I've never been able to run. So, yeah. And I don't have good depth perception, so that kind of hurts as well.
So she'd make a great goaltender.
No. With St. Louis sending Kyrou, wait, did I read that? No.
And a first-round pick.
Be fair trade for Tkachuk. Cheers from Brisbane.
It'd be a later first-round pick. Kyrou's an excellent player. I think he's going to be really, really good. I do think Calgary would want one more player in that. I don't, obviously not like a huge name like Kyrou, but I think they'd want another player in that deal.
Now you'll see Vegas gold helmets with gold jerseys.
Nope. I'll bet you they still wear them for their thirds. I'll bet you they still. Now, the gold helmets will look better with the gold jerseys.
They'll still look silly.
My guess is that they'll still wear.
You can't make them not look silly.
No.
There's no way for that not to look silly.
But the King Cylon helmets, at least they picked the right jerseys to wear them with.
They all look silly. Okay. Could the Preds reasonably acquire Tkachuk? What would a package look like from them? If so, if not, what would another top 6 winger option be for them?
I'm sure the Preds would be calling about Tkachuk. Tennessee, he might be willing to play down there. If they're looking for a top 6 winger, it's going to be tough now with the market as it is. There are other options. Paul Stastny's out there as an example. Maybe at this point in his career, he's 36 years of age. Maybe you can convert him to the wing, move somebody else to the wing. You could have him play center and wing. He might be an interesting option. He did have 21 goals this past season. Tkachuk, it would be difficult because I would think Forsberg would be the starting point for Calgary, and Nashville just re-signed Forsberg, and that's not really an option. But that's the kind of player I think they'd want back.
I'm a soccer fan, starting to get into American sports. I'm liking NBA and NHL. Was amazed to find out NFL is only 16 games a season. What are your thoughts on number of games played per season?
The NFL went to 17 games per season last year. Football is grueling, and it is a brutal sport. Guys get hurt all the time. So if you had a longer regular season and squash games together, you would only see more injuries and a lot more problems and shorter careers. So the shorter season with football makes a lot of sense. The 162 game schedule for baseball,
it's ridiculous.
Seems a little excessive to me.
The games take forever.
It's been that way for as long as I can remember, so it's going to stay that way. I like the 82 game schedule in the NHL and the NBA, although towards the end of the NHL schedule, it was feeling a little bit long this year.
Do the Preds compete if they pick up Tkachuk?
Yes. And again, it depends on the cost. And that's the thing. Like, Calgary's not giving away Tkachuk, so it's going to be an expensive deal. Any team getting Matthew Tkachuk will greatly appreciate him.
Wouldn't you have kept Carter over Kopitar?
No. At this point in their careers, I would prefer to have Kopitar over Carter.
Skipped. Hold on.
What did you do?
No, it skipped because I'm far behind. Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 97 Hartford Whalers or Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 Carolina Hurricanes?
Always Whalers. Got to go with Whalers.
You can only somebody hasn't. They didn't recognize my jersey. Okay, you can only see one of these artists in their prime. Who do you choose? Prince, Michael Jackson, or Queen with Freddie Mercury? Queen. Yeah, no question. Queen.
Yeah, that's a gimme right there.
Oh, Shannon, you should have seen Yvonne run before surgery.
Did Dustin Brown deserve to have the C taken away after leading the Kings to 2 Stanley Cups? I understood why at the time. I was surprised Dustin Brown stuck around. I'm always surprised when a player goes through that they don't end up being traded or that there's no drama after that. To Dustin's credit, there was no drama after that. He stuck around.
Which goalie should the Sharks trade away, and what should they receive in return? Should they also trade away
Shimmick and LeBanc?
Okay, I knew I was going to slaughter that one.
LeBanc might end up being on the move. I would think that once, the Sharks are going to be interesting. I think Aiden Hill's out. I think Aiden Hill's the one that's going to go. I think Kakkonen stick around and Reimer.
Devils GM Fitzgerald is actually family related to the Tkachuk family, and Matthew Tkachuk's agent is the agent for Fitzgerald's son.
Yep, which might help, but I've always been surprised at sometimes that family connection doesn't necessarily mean anything at the NHL level.
Okay. If Bertuzzi signals he won't re-sign, you think Yzerman could work some magic to snag Tkachuk to be the first line left wing?
I don't think Bertuzzi to the Flames would necessarily fix anything. I think that Detroit will be in on it. I think Raymond would be the starting point for Calgary if they were going to work on a deal like that, because the idea of having Raymond and Lindholm together, and they're both Swedish players, it might work really well. Detroit will absolutely be in the mix for Tkachuk. I would be very surprised if they're not. I don't know if they can get him though.
Deal or no deal, Red Wings offer Bertuzzi and a second for Tkachuk.
No, Calgary hangs up the phone on that one.
Thoughts on playoff expansion? Personally, I'm against it. Regular season should mean something.
Nope. Playoff format's fine. I don't see any value in adding just a play-in game. I think that's tough for a team that worked 82 games to finish in the top 8 just to get knocked out over a single game. I'm not a huge fan.
Speaking of baseball, is Larry Walker the greatest Canadian athlete of all time outside Bret Hart?
Greatest athlete. I would have Gordie Howe in there because of how long he played and how old he was when he finally finished in the NHL. Gordie Howe was in his 50s. So I would have Gordie Howe on that list.
Let's see. Should the Habs wait until PLD is a UFA?
I don't know if Dubois' availability. See, the thing is, I know that it's been said that Dubois wants to play in Montreal. I would say acquire his rights now and then get him signed, because when somebody goes to the market, you can never tell where they're going to end up. So although for Dubois, it wouldn't be Winnipeg or Columbus, So that just makes it 30 other teams. You want to get his rights now and sign him long term if that's the plan. I don't think you want to wait until he hits the market.
So, Shannon, any new $5 jerseys lately?
No, there have not been any deals along those lines this summer. They seem to have gotten pretty well. Although I do think Johnny Gaudreau Flames jerseys are going to be pretty darn cheap once all the sites get caught up on what's happened. I think Gaudreau, although I couldn't wear a Gaudreau Flames jersey anywhere. So at least me wearing 13 Flames all of a sudden doesn't look so bad because Johnny Hockey's not there now. So,
Will the Islanders sign somebody big?
It's not really Lou's MO. I think if they could bring in Kadri and if they could make it work, I think they absolutely would. Really help him down the middle, but I don't think he feels like there's a lot they need to do.
Did PLD to Habs talk kickstart all of these players all of a sudden saying they want out of their team as RFAs?
No, I think it's just a matter of we're now finding out stuff that we normally wouldn't have found out. And for Dubois, he apparently wants to play in Montreal, but it's a pie in the sky kind of thing, and we'll see whether or not it happens.
Thoughts on if Bolts tried to get Kane?
Good luck fitting Patrick Kane under the salary cap. And if it's Evander Kane, I don't think Tampa would add Evander Kane.
Am I right? Winnipeg has the last team to relocate to Arizona. Who would be the next relocation, if anybody? I'm guessing it'll be many years.
It'd have to be a team that loses their building. It'd have to be a situation where it's been coming for a long time. Arizona now is stable as long as they get that building in Tempe. If they don't get the building in Tempe, then everything is up in the air again once they're done their lease with ASU. Outside of that, yeah, there's no teams that are in any kind of danger. The Islanders finally got their building after decades of uncertainty. And yeah, I think there's no danger of anybody else moving.
Should Gordy be on the Canadian dollar instead of some stuffy British queen?
That'd be a popular move to put hockey players on our money. So that'd probably be pretty popular if they actually did that.
How did we meet?
Online. There was this website where she got paid money to take me off the market.
I knew he was going to say something stupid.
Where women voted and they said, we need this guy to be taken by somebody. So she made $500 just for taking me out on a date from a pool that women have put together, deciding we need him off. He needs to stop. So she made $500 and that's how that worked.
That's not how that worked.
Okay. That's how that worked.
You're such a dork. It's not what happened, but online dating, yeah, works pretty well.
And Flames rebuild or try to compete. I think the Flames are not going into a rebuild. The Flames are going to do everything they can to get the most for Tkachuk to make sure they don't like the narrative that's out there right now either. So they're going to do everything they can to squash it. And they're going to have to start figuring this out immediately. I think the Tkachuk trade probably happens within the next week. And then we'll see what Eric Francis thinks.
With those racks, the jerseys, that vintage North Stars, sigh. I may need to go more shopping again to add to my own collection. LOL. Love your channel. You two are awesome.
I'm happy about the collection. I've only had one accusation so far on TikTok that my jerseys are fake. So
just so weird.
Because that's why you display them like this. We do get
questions every once in a while. Are any of them fake or any of them
not in here?
Yeah,
and if I figure out, there have been times where I figure out that a jersey's not legit, and it immediately comes right out of here, and it goes somewhere else.
We've only had that once where we didn't immediately notice because we didn't actually look at it.
Yep.
Well, a Canadian isn't on there. That is true.
Birds are Canadian. It's loony.
Well, yes. So the one
and technically Queen Elizabeth is Canadian.
Yeah, that's
so back in
1926
during it was the 1.5 World War. It was right in between. She actually relocated to Canada. She opened this really nice little store.
Okay. Anyways,
in Newmarket, she had this little Queen store.
Queen store.
So it was really nice. It was nice.
A Queen store?
Yeah, she sold crowns.
I was just gonna say, what do they sell at
She sold
Queen
crowns
store?
And tiaras, and then
you get tea and
and then every 15th shopper that made a purchase got like some of the Queen's jewelry. They just threw it in there.
Oh,
so
There
She
you go.
shoveled some buckets of it in the boat, and then she brought it over to
The
Canada.
Queen shoveled buckets.
Queen was buff back then.
Okay. Would Laine for Chuck be worth it for the Jackets? Also, for another offseason, Yarmo is a pure killer. Jones for Johansson, yeah. Trade tree keeps falling out.
Laine. I can't see Calgary going after Laine. I think the Blue Jackets want to keep Laine. Apparently, it's been a little more complicated now. They've picked up Goudreau, and looking at that price, may have increased how much Laine wants. But Laine also is reportedly very excited about Johnny Hockey going there. I don't think we're going to see Tkachuk joining Goudreau in Columbus.
What kind of trade do you see the Oilers making to get Patty Kane?
I don't think there's a move there for them to get Patty Kane. They would need to throw in something major. And I mean, Chicago might take a futures package, but then you'd have the Oilers who are already having cap problems. They'd need to shed money in order to add Kane. I just don't see it working at this point.
Okay, Bertuzzi, a first and a second for Tkachuk.
No, I don't think that gets it done either because they need to make sure they're winning the trade.
Tkachuk named Vegas as a team he would accept. You think there's any chance they do it?
He'd accept a trade to Vegas. Yes, Vegas absolutely would look at Tkachuk if he's available. I think they would try to make it happen. The problem is they keep rearranging their roster, and they'd have to move out some pretty big names in order to make that work. And I don't know whether or not they can do that. I don't know that there's the money. I don't know that there's the players to make a trade work. But and it's in the division too, so it's a dicey proposition if he was to go to Vegas.
Is Kari Lehtonen a disappointment for a second overall pick?
Early on in his career when he was in Atlanta, yes. When he ended up in Dallas, and shortly before he went to Dallas, he was playing well. Really, I think he had a good career. He ended up with over 300 wins. The one thing for Lehtonen, consistency eluded him at points, but I wouldn't say he was necessarily a big disappointment as a number 2 pick.
Do either of us watch F1? I don't.
I used to get up early. I used to get up early and watch F1 races, but that was before I had a wife, kids, and all that.
What's the news on the Kaprizov debacle?
I have heard nothing about Kirill over the last week and a half, which is good. If you don't hear any news about Kaprizov, that's good news. So as long as there's nothing to report, that's fine. It's just a matter of renewing his work visa and getting him back into the U.S. Once he's back in the U.S., you're all set. There are a number of Russian players that have opted to stay in North America rather than to go home in the offseason, which is prudent. And for players who are over there, we may see some not able to come back, but I think for Kaprizov, I do think he's going to return.
Do you eat Canadian bacon or regular bacon? Canadian bacon's American. We don't have it.
I don't really like bacon.
We don't have little circle ham.
I've never been a big fan of bacon.
Yeah, Canadian bacon's American. We don't have it.
Yeah, nope. I've never been a big bacon fan.
Sorry. No.
Many apologies, but I've never
been
a big bacon fan.
Back bacon, which I think is what Americans are trying to make, but they're different. Yeah. They're quite different. They don't even look the same.
Yeah.
That's my theory. But we don't have Canadian bacon.
No.
It's American.
How to eat Los Angeles. Career video on Paul Coffey. I think I have. I'm pretty sure I have done a career video on Paul Coffey. 99% sure on that one.
I'm bad at keeping track of everybody you've done. Yeah, we have ham. We have ham.
Greetings to Canes country. Any aspirations to see a game in every stadium? That'd be tough.
That'd be really hard.
That's 29 stadiums we haven't been to yet. It gets a little dicey. If we can do an East Coast swing, we can probably knock out 3 or 4 of those pretty quickly. But I do hope to get there at some point. I just don't know when that happens.
That would be really hard. We have children, so
yep.
Now that the Flames might be forced into a rebuild, should Buffalo take a shot at Andrew Mangiapane?
Mangiapane is a player who's coming off a 35 goal season, but at the end of the season, he didn't look like a 35 goal scorer. I do think that for Calgary, they're going to do everything they can to hold on to him. He would be a good young ad, though, for a team like Buffalo if they can find a way to make it work.
If Ducks would sign Klingberg, DeHaan, Kessel, and Niederreiter, do you think playoffs would be a possibility?
Kessel has lost so much over the last couple of years. This year in Arizona, it was tough. He's really fallen off. I mean, Niederreiter's a 20 goal scorer. Klingberg's a good defenseman. They'd be in the mix. I still don't know that would get them in the playoffs.
Oh, they're still talking about Canadian bacon. Yeah,
How's
we
Kevin
call
Adams?
it ham here.
How's Kevin
but
Adams
it's
done with
not
the
little
Sabres?
Circles.
It's done well so far. That Eichel trade looks really, really good for them so far.
Yes, we have air conditioning. We have a little window unit right here. So that's how Shannon is not just melting.
Right.
But we only have one window in this room, and it doesn't ever face the sun. So that helps as well. But we have two little window units in our house. So one for us and one for the rabbits. Well, one for Shannon, one for the rabbits.
I answered that one.
Oh, I skipped again. With Calgary looking like a weaker team overall as it stands, what are your early predictions for the Pacific Division Western Conference next season?
Depends on what they get for Tkachuk. If they get something really good for Tkachuk, they're still going to be in the mix for first. The Oilers are going to be in the mix for first. The Kings should improve, and I think the Canucks are going to improve. So those four teams, I think, are going to be right there. That being said, hey, Vegas. If Vegas makes the right moves, they'll be in the mix for first. And I would not be surprised if the Golden Knights somehow end up first again next year.
Where does PK Subban sign?
I'll say a team that envisions themselves as a playoff team, probably for a heck of a lot less money. I would think in the $1.5 million, maybe even $1 million range. And yeah, I don't think Subban's going to be expensive. I think he'll be brought in as a veteran number 6 type guy for probably a contending team.
Do we have toilet paper in Canada? No, we use pine cones.
Speak for yourself. I got beavers in my bathroom.
Somebody else says, no, we use maple leaves.
Not just for nickels anymore.
But then maple leaves are so big. That would be really difficult.
You tear them into strips.
Here, our maple leaves are they're huge.
You tear them into strips.
Okay. In Verbeek, we trust. So happy with Frankie Vertrano and Ryan Strome pickup. Do the Ducks even need defense at this point? Cheers, guys.
If Drysdale continues his improvement over what we saw this past season, and I think Drysdale's a good defenseman. I don't think they need that much. I think it's just going to be a matter of time. They're still outside the playoffs right now. I would think this coming season, but they may not be that far off.
Pine cones and beavers. This visual I could have done without. But beavers are so cute. Have you ever seen a beaver walk? I mean, I always see them walking when they're crossing the road and blocking all of the traffic.
They waddle.
But they are so cute. They're so fat. And their little legs, and they just kind of waddle. And everybody has to stop and wait for them.
Because they can't run.
But they cross better than the geese, because the geese don't cross like this, like the beavers do. The geese kind of walk along the road, so everybody has to stop until somebody tries to get out and choose them, and then they just hiss at you. It's a whole ordeal.
3-way Flames, Blues, Islanders, Tarasenko to the Islanders, Tkachuk to Blues, Calgary picks prospects from Rossburg players back. I don't think it'll be a 3-way deal. I think it's going to be a 2-way deal. I don't think there's going to be I think a 3-way deal just gets difficult, because part of the reason that those trades become difficult is the money part. Tkachuk is going to end up with a cap hit of likely $9 million a year plus. It's really tough to fit that under the cap for about at least half the league. So it definitely makes a 3-way trade then even more of a nightmare.
Geese are mean. No, they aren't. Just don't chase them.
The
geese are nice. I like the geese.
They can be mean.
They can be, but you be nice to them.
I used to run at my kids when we went to Sardis Park. I had to go over and run them off. They could get quite territorial.
I like the geese. So they're huge. So I like them. Okay. Kopitar is not a great player. American and Canadian media don't realize that Kings management prop him up artificially. No one scores on his line. Yes.
Kopitar's a beast. And it's more than the scoring. It's his two-way game. He's very good defensively, good hitter, intense player. I really don't have any complaints about Kopitar. His scoring is going to drop off because he's in his 30s now, but even still, he's a good, effective player for them. And yeah, I really like what Kopitar gives them.
Who wins state of New York its next sports championship? Bills, Yankees, or Rangers?
Probably the Yankees. I would guess probably the Yankees. Aren't they due? The Yankees are kind of due. They're what Montreal used to be in hockey. You just go, well, they're about due for a championship, and there it is. So
Geese are not always mean. They're nice. At our last house, we had geese that would come into our yard because I would give them corn, even though you're not supposed to. And we had names for them. And they knew when I was coming because they'd start walking towards me. And it was really cute.
and they'd hiss at you.
They would. He would always hiss at me, just give me the food and nobody gets hurt.
Because they're not friendly.
They're friendly. They just warn you. I could bite you. I could. But they're nice. So, yes. What am I drinking? I'm drinking tea. Of course. Who wins the cup next season? Oh.
It's really hard to say. I mean, the Avs are going to be in the hunt. Tampa Bay will be in the hunt. Florida, after the setback they had this year, they won the President's Trophy. It is quite common for a team that wins the President's Trophy. They don't win the cup, but after that, they win the cup. Washington, Colorado this year is another example. Who else? St. Louis had won President's Trophies. Eventually, they won the Stanley Cup. Boston won President's Trophies. Eventually, they won the cup. I do think Florida will be right there.
This year, please do a game review of Montreal in French.
That wouldn't go well. That would not go particularly well.
Oh my goodness.
I'd actually have to work on the French at that point, and it's been a while.
Why does Gary keep staring at me? He's staring into your soul.
That's what he does.
Do you think the Canucks will be a playoff team without JT Miller?
It would depend on what they get for Miller. Again, if they lost Miller for nothing, no. But if they got something back for him. But remember, his agent said today there is a path forward with the Vancouver Canucks. He is interested in signing a deal with the Vancouver Canucks. His agent has no reason to lie about it. There's zero reason to lie. He says JT likes the team and he likes playing in Vancouver. He likes the city. So I do think he hopefully ends up sticking around.
Can we get a player bio video for the cast of Shoresy? That could be fun.
I have the Terry Ryan book now. I picked that up because he was in the Shoresy season. So I thought I'd better pick that book up and show a little bit of support. So I have that now.
How many hours a day do you spend in that room?
A lot.
Most of the day. Shannon is in here most of the day.
Yeah.
That's why we put one of the two air conditioners in here. Shannon is in here almost all day.
And combined with the fact that this room does heat up quickly. So if you keep this room cool, it keeps the rest of the downstairs cool.
Canucks are so underrated. They have a goalie.
The Canucks, at this point, there's some underrating going on. I think that because they finished outside the playoffs, they kind of get overlooked by some. After they got Boudreau, they got much better. And I would expect that to continue this season. They, at the very least, with Boudreau, should be a playoff team.
Do you think OEL will bounce back this season? Who should he play with? Is the perfect player in the team, or would they need to trade for that player?
Ekman Larson had actually a pretty solid second half to the season. The offensive numbers may not be where you want them to be, but he was pretty good for them. As for ideal partner, Hughes is with Shen, so odds are he's going to end up with Myers. It doesn't really matter who you put him with, though. I think OEL's pretty good on his own. Actually, it was when Hughes went down with injury that OEL jumped into that spot, and I thought he played very, very well. As far as perfect player, I think the Canucks are in pretty good shape right now.
How many player profile videos have you done?
It's in the hundreds. It is that playlist has got to be approaching 400 videos.
Is Clef Bomb still on the Oilers roster officially?
Officially, yes. They do not expect him to play again. He is expected to miss the entire upcoming season.
How much do we pay for the air conditioner?
Weren't they like $200 each?
Was it? I don't remember.
I think they were about $200 each.
The bigger one.
Yeah.
Bigger window unit just because of the size of this room that we didn't think the little one.
Yeah, the little ones wouldn't have helped. So, and then we got them from Lowe's because I knew they were going to sell out fast.
Summer.
They were going to sell out fast once we got into summer. So, yeah.
What music do we like? Metal.
90s new metal. Early 2000s new metal. So, like Slipknot, Rammstein.
I like a lot of the music
Linkin
now.
Park.
I don't listen to pop music.
Grace. I listen to pop music.
I do not at all.
I enjoy pop music.
I think country is the worst music there is.
I can't do country.
I really don't like.
I can't do country.
Rap or R&B either. I'm really picky about music.
I'm a fan of some rap and some R&B.
Nope.
I'm a fan of some. There are some rap songs I really enjoy when I'm doing my treadmill. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, there's some fun ones there. You got to watch when you're singing along though, because can't be doing that with some of them.
Thank you, Shannon, for reigniting my passion for hockey. What do you think the NHL has to do to reach the USA more? Gets lonely being a fan in the US.
I think the new deal with ESPN, I think that's big. I think that's big in terms of getting more hockey to more people. So as long as they continue to expand access and awareness of hockey, and they start doing more of the like Amazon did that series last year on the Leafs, more of that. They need more of that. The behind the scenes stuff. I really think it'll make hockey quite attractive on the southern side of the border.
Lots of people talking about music now. Opinions on Connor Bedard hype? Too much?
Bedard looks fantastic. Everything that we've heard about Bedard, he is going to be the most hyped prospect since Matthews in 2016 or McDavid in 2015. And everything I've read, he is that next level talent.
Oh, send me listen to REM. I love REM. I do.
She likes REM.
I do really like REM. Shannon loves Taylor Swift.
I'm really more partial to Billie Eilish or Dua Lipa than Taylor.
Country is the Nickelback of genres. Don't say that about Nickelback.
She likes Nickelback. Proving not everybody's perfect. So
whatever.
There's that.
Whatever. Okay. Seattle meetup.
Not this summer. This summer we're already to a point where I don't think it works for this summer. Next summer, absolutely. Next summer we should be all caught up, and it should be easier next year.
Might be crazy, but I don't feel as panicked as most Flames fans feel right now. Am I crazy to think there's hope and maybe this is a good chance for a retool?
I don't see any need for a panic. I mean, yeah, they lose Johnny Gaudreau. If Tkachuk wants to be traded, great. There will always be players who want to play in Calgary. Calgary doesn't have the same problem that they had in the mid-90s. That's why I framed it that way in that video last night, because I remember in the mid-90s when, there were a lot of players who did not want to go to the Alberta teams. We aren't seeing that right now. We're just seeing two of their keystone players. One's already left and the other one wants out. There's been no rumors of anybody else wanting out. Hannafin's American, Coleman's American. There hasn't been anything from them. So I think with the right move for Tkachuk, Calgary's still in the mix.
Y'all strike me as some real big fish fans, some ska enjoyers. Shannon loves ska. It's his favorite. He's a huge ska fan.
Worst 12 hours I've ever been in a concert. They never stopped. Every single song was exactly the same. It's like, what is this? It's all the same song. What are you dancing to? You're not even dancing to the rhythm of the song. There's so much smoke. Holy crow.
Oh my goodness.
What was the name of that band?
Sublime?
Yeah, Sublime. There it is. Just awful. What a horrible experience that was. And then Offspring came out. They played 3 songs and they left. Couldn't remember the lyrics to Pretty Fly for a White Guy.
Oh my gosh, that's
Crowd
so
had
not
to sing
happened.
the whole song.
Whatever. Okay. Tool and REM are fantastic. Agreed. Definitely.
Favorite Tool song? Schism.
Depends on the day. I really like Enema. That's probably one
Enema's
of my
fantastic.
favorites.
That would be number 2 for me.
I have
Schism's
a
number
lot
1.
of Tool songs that I like though.
And then Vicarious
Shannon's
if
a
you feel like
closet
listening to the other one.
Swiftie.
I don't think
Oh my
I don't think that's accurate.
Okay. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Can you explain how the rosters will work for World Juniors in August?
They're doing the same rosters that they did for the World Juniors in December, right? So, I mean, they may have a few extras there because you can't call guys in. So I think it's still a 23-man roster with a few extras there as well. I think I could be wrong on that. Pretty sure this should be standard. This should be a pretty good little tournament they throw together here. I'm kind of anxious to cover it.
Sublime and Offspring aren't ska. Offspring absolutely is not ska. Sublime borders on it.
No, they don't. They are definitely ska.
No.
They're awful.
No, they're not awful.
It was terrible. It never stopped.
They're not one of the bands.
Each song was like 12 and a half minutes long. It's just like, oh, and then they'd almost finish and then look right at me and go, psych. And then they'd start up again. Like, oh my gosh, why is it still going?
Okay, Nickelback isn't that bad. It's the goof, Chad Kroeger. Exactly.
Yeah.
Nickelback's pretty good. I really like their album that came out in, I think, 2019, The Feed the Machine. That's a fun album.
By then they'd already alienated people though, so that's what happened.
It doesn't help when your lead singer.
Do I ever watch ice hockey that's from USA, not from USA and Canada, like SHL in Sweden? We don't really have that over here. So for me to watch it, I'd have to, go through your online sources. We don't really have that over here. And then it's a matter of during the NHL season, there's only so many hours to go around. So, I mean, I would totally watch SHL. I understand it's good hockey, right up there with AHL in terms of quality. But yeah, I don't really follow it. I don't really have the time during the season.
Thoughts on Hockey Canada now?
It just all looks bad with Hockey Canada at this point. I don't know how they're going to get around all this. For Hockey Canada, they're just going to have to be as transparent as possible going forward and do things better. This is a teenager. This is a bunch of teenagers in a tournament. They can make stupid mistakes. Do what you can to make sure they don't make those stupid mistakes.
Do the Avs repeat as champs whether Kadri stays on or not? By the way, has anyone told Yvonne she looks just like a WWE Hall of Famer Lita?
You do?
What?
I don't know that you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Without Kadri, they'd have to replace him on the second line. So you'd have to have a center to replace him, and that may not be all that easy. So
I do not. Not even close. No, I'm pale and blonde and not built like that. Definitely not built like that. And I wouldn't wear my clothes like that either. What in the world's going on there?
She always
well, she doesn't have boobs either. So
yes, she does.
Well, in that picture, she doesn't. Okay, yeah, I don't have boobs. She does. So yeah, no.
Oh, she always had that weird tattoo on her shoulder.
But you can't just take it off.
I know.
Okay.
Well, you can get a tattoo removed. But that was her look back in the day.
Oh.
Back with the Hardys.
Your pants are falling off.
That was one of the selling points. So.
Oh.
Can I say, men in the late 90s really liked Lita.
Finally made it. Love you guys. Love this insane off season. Would also love to see Tkachuk as a Ranger.
And I think the Rangers would love to make a deal as well. It would be an expensive deal, and we'll see who's willing to pay that price for Tkachuk. Once that Tkachuk trade happens, though, I will be all over it. There'll be a video immediately after that because I know people are going to want to discuss that as soon as it's done. So between now and then, we're going to have all kinds of wild speculation. I'm not doing the wild speculation on my channel.
Did the NHL officially get rid of the rule that Montreal has preference on players from Quebec? Can you imagine if that rule existed today?
The Montreal Canadiens did not exercise their rights over Quebec-born players nearly as much as they could have. And the times that they did use it, it didn't benefit them as much as people might think. They don't have any rights over Quebec-born players anymore. I mean, if the NHL ever went back to that, that'd be interesting, right? If you had certain territorial rights because of where you are and where the players are. But yeah, it's not a thing, and it didn't benefit that Montreal dynasty as much as people complain about.
Does the system have to change to avoid tanking?
I think it's a good system now. I don't think they're going to tinker with it further. What Arizona's doing very clearly is to build up as many good young prospects as possible. I don't know that the NHL could do anything about that. Arizona's going to just keep doing it. And I don't think if the NHL was doing anything to discourage tanking, that it would make a difference to the way the Coyotes were approaching things.
Do you think Ron Francis and the Kraken are done in free agency?
I think if they had a chance to sign Nazem Kadri, they'd be all over it. It'd be a great way to show fans in Seattle, hey, we're serious about getting better. So I think if the right player's there at the right dollar figure, Ron Francis will be on it. Paul Stastny's a good example. They might be able to get him. He's 36 years of age. He's not the same player he was, say, 5-10 years ago, but he could be very good for them for a season or two.
Do you think Ron Francis and the Kraken are done in free agency? I just read that.
Yep.
I know it was a few days ago, but happy anniversary, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. It skipped again. Best Tom Cruise movie? Tropic Thunder for me.
Tropic Thunder is interesting because people didn't know it was Tom Cruise at first. He wears like a fat suit in it, and he's bald in it. So you can't recognize him at all.
Is there a Tom Cruise movie I like? I'm trying to think of.
I think you might have liked Risky Business, but you've never seen Risky Business.
Haven't I? Yes, I have.
With the Fabergé egg, and he's stuck alone for the weekend. His parents are gone.
Yeah, I've seen it.
He runs prostitution house out of his house and all that fun stuff. He's being chased by Guido, the killer pimp. It's a great movie. I really enjoy it. But it's not really an Yvonne movie.
I don't know that there's any movies of his that I like, so I can't think of any.
Oh, Outsiders.
Outsiders.
He had to be in that. Everybody was in that.
What? Okay.
Wasn't he? He was in the... Sure he was.
Is there going to be another hockey get-together event upcoming?
We have one scheduled for Coquitlam on the 30th. We were going to do it this weekend, but we pushed it back a week, so it's on the 30th now. And then after the return from Vegas, I would imagine we'll do another one pretty soon after that.
Would the Blues be better or worse if they pursue Tkachuk? What do you think it would cost?
It'd be expensive. So you're thinking Kyrou, a first-round draft pick, and then other parts likely going towards Calgary. Calgary might want another top six forward because of the loss of Gaudreau. They might be looking to ramp up there. And Kyrou for Tkachuk, that's not enough. So I think they'd have to add a lot, and it'd be expensive. St. Louis might come out of that being the better team, though.
Happy anniversary. Anything on Boston?
Boston's been very quiet. The one thing with Boston is that if they're going to bring back Bergeron and Krejci, I really hope that Krejci is better this coming season for Boston than reports I read of his play at home this past year. He has to be better than that.
Do you consider yourself a celebrity?
No.
That's weird.
Nope. Never. Doesn't matter how many subscribers I have. I would never consider myself to be a celebrity. People recognize me. That's cool. That's fun. I don't consider celebrities are people like Natalie Portman, Chris Hemsworth, Jensen Ackles, who's a beautiful man, and people like that. I'm not in that anywhere near that sphere, that realm.
What do you think the holdup is with Dallas re-signing Robertson and Otter? Cruise was in Outsiders.
I thought he was. I was pretty sure that Tom Cruise was in The Outsiders. It's a really good movie if you haven't seen it. The holdup with Robertson and Ottinger, honestly, Robertson can basically write down whatever value and justify it. Like if he wants 10+ million based on how he's played the first 2 years, he can justify that. Dallas may not want to give him that. Ottinger, it really depends. Ottinger had a good regular season, not great, and then he had a fantastic playoff. Well, if he wants to get paid like that fantastic playoff, but Dallas is looking at the big picture and saying, look, you haven't had that great regular season yet, that could explain a difference right there that's holding up any kind of signing, and then leaves the specter of an offer sheet out there.
Where are all the cats? Shadow's right there in the
Shadow.
window.
Bear.
Bears are here. And
Kittens are in Adelaide's room.
Pixel's
Pixel's
somewhere.
probably in the rec room, probably sitting on the chair.
It could be. How many Sharks jerseys do you own?
It's pretty easy to find out. Let's see, San Jose's here. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I've got at least 4 of the fashion jerseys that are like the Los Tiburones and the Sugar Skull ones too. And then there's another one that's waiting for me in the States too. Another one of those.
Yes.
So I've got I've got almost 20. And the fashion ones that are like $20 on eBay, those are fun little jerseys. I really wish they'd make those for like
the Sharks do
an actual game. Have a Tiburones jersey where they actually wear it. I think that'd be great.
Have you seen the Northman or the Lighthouse yet?
Not yet.
I thought Shannon was taller. Taller than what? Taller than what? You guys see him playing hockey with people.
Yeah, there's meetup videos on the channel. So
thoughts on the Oilers not done, and there are more moves incoming.
They'll have to make more cap space to make moves, but I have no doubt that Ken Holland wants to do more. I would think more involving the wing, and of course the fact that Puljujarvi wants to be traded means they have to do something.
Do you ever have to wash all of your jerseys? Why would we have to wash all of them?
No.
What would happen? Do you ever wash all of your clothes?
We don't own a skunk, so no.
You wash them when they're dirty. Like, we don't have to wash them every time he puts one on, because sometimes he'll only wear it for like the 10 minutes or whatever of a jersey or of a video.
That's usually how it works.
So they don't get washed frequently.
And then
we definitely wash
for meetups, I just take the jerseys now with my names on the back.
But not.
So
we never have to wash all of them. That would take forever.
That'd be terrible.
Like, because each one of these, I think I could only do maybe a third of one of those at a time.
Probably. Yeah, that sounds about right.
That would take forever. And that would be so much water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wash them when you use them for longer periods, but heck no, not all of them.
No.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
Tool or Tragically Hip?
Tool.
That's an easy question.
That's not even really a question.
I think you should start a jersey rental service. No.
That'd be awful.
That would.
That'd be so sad.
Because there's a lot of jerseys that would be really hard to replace.
I couldn't replace
really hard to replace.
Like this one I'm wearing, I couldn't replace this. I got this from Sports K. No idea if it's available anywhere anymore. Other than there's eBay sellers that want like a couple $100 for it. So I'm glad I got it when I did.
Thornton and Chara done. Hall of Fame.
I think Chara is, the way he was shaking hands at the end of the season. I think Thornton really wants that Stanley Cup ring. And if somebody's willing to sign him to a contract, I think he'll come back.
Lennon or McCartney? Yes.
McCartney.
Are you late? Yes. We've been doing this for almost an hour and a half now.
Yeah, we're not going to go much longer because Yvonne needs to feed herself, and because if she doesn't eat during a day, she gets kind of cranky about it.
You get kind of cranky about it.
There it is. That's how that works.
I don't eat frequently.
Thoughts on Doc?
Tea though, so I'm good.
I still have faith that Kirby Doc can bounce back. He had a really brutal year for the Blackhawks. I'm really hoping he bounces back in Montreal. The potential's there. I think you look back at 2019, 2020, he had a pretty darn good season there. It's just a matter of putting it together, and I think he can do it.
How many NHL games do you make it to?
During a regular season, I think this year, I think it made it to like 7 or 8, including Abbotsford.
Okay. Well,
including Abbotsford. It might have been around 10, actually, between Abbotsford and Vancouver.
I think Vancouver, didn't we do 4 this year?
4 this year, yeah.
It is tricky for us to get to.
It has to be a night where there aren't very many games in the NHL, because I have to review the games when I get home. So it can't be a day where there's 10, 12 games. I can't do it. So, yeah, it has to be a quiet night in the NHL. And then there's games that are ridiculously expensive, so I avoid those. So I'm more likely to go to a game against New Jersey, Arizona, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But then Abbotsford games, we have season tickets. But
Yep.
Shannon, again, can only go to so many.
Yep.
I went to a ton of them.
I went to
So
about
did my
half a dozen.
kids.
I went to about half a dozen this year. I would say.
Thoughts on the Pens going for grit and size over youth? As a fan, I'm tired of the first round exits and constantly being outplayed physically because Sully still thinks only speed wins cups. I'm all for it. Love the channel.
I do think that Pittsburgh is reminiscent of Detroit towards the end of their run in the playoffs. They're definitely giving up too much for the future in exchange for that last hurrah. But you've got Sidney Crosby, one of the best players that's ever played the game. You kind of have to keep doing it.
Yvonne Cranky, that's not a thing. See? Right?
See, and then Dave gets his money back because Yvonne just,
knows.
you know. Thanks, Dave. Cha-ching.
He knows who sends him chocolate.
Uh-huh.
I need to too. I am gathering.
Do I think Ron Francis and the Kraken are done in free agency?
It's like
no.
the Dave candy pile.
Where you guys travel to see other NHL games this year? We hope to get to Seattle to watch at least one this year.
Yeah, that's tricky.
Outside of Seattle, it's tough. Like, I would love to go to Alberta and watch a game in Calgary and a game in Edmonton, but during the winter, it gets really cold. And then it's a matter of, we have 3 kids. And so the logistics get kind of tough. I don't know that the kids would enjoy going to Alberta for a couple of hockey games and then coming home.
It's a long drive.
I think that's something, well, I mean, we could fly, but even flying.
Then it's
might
really
be
expensive.
No. So, yeah, flying in Canada
fuel
is very
in
expensive.
BC at $3 a liter yet? No.
It's down below 2 again, isn't it?
It is. It was $1.80 yesterday. I think it was $1.80 yesterday because I thought, yay. It's still really, really high, but it's been under $2 for a couple of weeks now.
Oil companies are still price gouging, but they've dropped the gouge a little bit so we can feel better. So it's still gouging.
As an American, Trailer Park Boys is one of my favorite shows, along with Letterkenny. Do you guys watch either?
I watch both.
I like Letterkenny.
Letterkenny's fantastic. Trailer Park Boys is fantastic because I grew up in a trailer park where some of those characters could have been lifted directly from my experiences growing up. And Shorzy's fantastic as well. Of course, the offshoot from Letterkenny.
Ever seen Ogopogo? We don't need to add NBC because that's the only place Ogopogo is. I've seen the Ogopogo statue.
It's sturgeon.
It's totally a sturgeon.
Sturgeon are huge. And so I could understand somebody seeing that in the water and thinking it's a monster.
Fish.
They are huge and they're old. They do date back to the dinosaurs.
Fish. Yes.
See all caught up?
Nope. Do you? Yep,
I already asked that.
I did. Yep. I was scrolled back that far. There we go. What does Calgary want from the Rangers in Tkachuk trade? Also, you should come to San Jose for a game.
SAP
Center. It's a nice stadium.
We would like to do that. That is Northern California, though. It's a little bit trickier for us. We're going to be in Southern California again, although I don't think there's a game during the time we're planning on being down there.
I don't think even if there was a game, we'd be there long enough to.
But yeah, so San Jose would be a lot of fun. As for Tkachuk, it's going to be an expensive trade. It's going to be a very expensive trade for Tkachuk.
Hi guys, love your videos. Do you think the Leafs will finally win a playoff series?
God, I hope so. I genuinely hope so.
178 in Ontario. So pretty close.
Yep.
Greatest player turned GM as a Colorado native. I'm super biased. What Sakic just pulled off, plus I'm passing the cup straight to Bork always gets me.
Yep. Yzerman and Sakic are 2 of the best that I've seen become fantastic GMs as well. So yeah, I agree with that. Anyways, we should get going. Other things to do and whatnot, and then I can turn the air conditioner back on. It's getting kind of toasty in here. But anyways, thank you guys so much for coming out. We will do this again soon. And yeah, so thanks for coming out. And take care, everybody, and beat the heat. Remember, stay hydrated. It is summer. Stay hydrated. And take care. And have a good evening to you as well, Lisa.